getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
AMS track draft is now. This is a random draw. The next pick of the AMS track draft this season, we have
Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the American Muscle Series Season 9, Round 1. We're doing this one by the Wheel of Destiny, the Wheel of Fate, the Wheel of Doom, the Wheel of something. But here we are for Round 1 at the Hungaroring circuit. My name is Randall McGrew, and I am joined in the booth by Andre the Dirt, not to be confused with Megan the Stallion, Grandbouche. And in the production trailer, Joshua Wilkie on the buttons and knobs. And Andre, it's been a long off season. There's been a lot of anticipation of what this first race is going to be, and there's been some wailing and gnashing of teeth about it being Hungaroring. What do you expect to see out here tonight?
Man, I don't even know. I didn't know what to expect before about an hour ago when I found out where we were racing. So, it's funny. We had this conversation last year about going to such a difficult track for the first race of the season. And here we are at the Hungaroring. Not necessarily an easy circuit to navigate. Very tight turn one. Going to be an interesting opening to the season. I don't know what's going on in that head of yours to come up with this system of randomly selected tracks, but I gotta say, I'm all for it. It is definitely going to be an interesting season, and I'm just excited to be back. I had a lot of fun last season, and been waiting eagerly for these Mustangs to get back on the blacktop, and here we are.
Well, one of my complaints about the league has been that some people practice just a little bit too much. And I wanted to see what some of these guys could do if it was a more authentic track weekend experience where they just arrive and get a little bit of practice and then have to race. And the only way we could do that really was to not tell them what the track was going to be until they showed up. So the drivers this season are finding out 20 minutes before the server launches what the track is going to be. And that 20 minutes is only there just to make sure that they have time to purchase the track in case they need it. Otherwise, they would get to know basically when the server went live. So we are giving them a little bit of a grace period, but not enough time to practice. So they're only going to have the amount of time to practice that is in the practice server, and we're joining them now in qualifying. They've only got an hour of practice under their belts, so we're going to see who's going to be quick with the least amount of practice. We're looking at a new challenger that's kind of emerged over the last couple of seasons, Luke Sudengay. He's been really fast. He's been coming on pretty often in the last half of the season. Especially last season, we saw him break through and get a couple wins under his belt. He's going to be challenging for that Pro Division Championship. Speaking of that Pro Division Championship, we're going to have a new champion this season. No Jack Sanchez so far yet, Andre. It's wide open.
It is going to be wide open, and I think it's going to be really close. I mean, Jack was one of the favorites, and I'm not saying he won every race or that he was far and away better than everybody, but when he showed up, you knew that there was a good chance he was going to walk away with that checkered flag, and everybody else was just so tight. The field is always tight in this league, and I have no idea. I would not be able to place any bets or any odds. It'll be interesting to see. We do have Kevin Parrish back. You might remember him from a couple seasons ago, always pretty competitive, currently topping the board in this qualifying session. And it's interesting, you mentioned your reasoning for doing this way with the schedule, trying to limit the practice. That is something I've always felt separated sim racing from the authentic experiences. You kind of turn the sim into a rhythm game. A lot of people, they'll sit down, they'll make laps after laps after laps. They're driving off of muscle memory, not so much off of instincts and actual, adaptability behind the wheel. You've taken that away, and I literally cannot think of another league in the sim for any series that's done something like this. So the results are going to be even more hard to predict when you take that practice away from these guys. You might see a few names from further back work their way towards the top.
Absolutely. We don't have a lot of new drivers this season, so you only see 3 or 4 new names lighting up the timing screen. We're on board with Kevin Parrish now as he's making his way towards the final sector of the lap. This is a very tricky track in any car. It's especially tricky here in these Mustangs with all the body roll. There's not much camber on these corners to really help with these turns. We're going to take a lap with, I think we're going to do a lap with Kevin. We're going to try to get one earlier, then Andre and I got just sidetracked and said, no, producer, we're going to do what we want. We're going to talk about what we want to talk about. So we will go for a full lap this time on board with Kevin. And Kevin, I got to say, he's going to be one of my favorites. As long as he's busted to the rust, he was always one of the faster drivers. So he's going to have a real good shot here this season as we see him coming through the final corner. And I know that some of the moaning in the Discord server was about what's coming up ahead. This hairpin turn 1 for the first race of the season could get pretty wild. We're going to see him drift back over to the left-hand side of the track, really open up this entry for turn 1. Going to get on the binders there just before the pit exit line. Get over onto that curb and let the car run its way all the way to that exit curb, and then bring the car back over to the right-hand side of the track through turn 2 to open up this entry here to the double apex left-hander at turn 3. And this is an opportunity here. You wouldn't really think it, but it's one of the best passing spots on the track, and then it could find you really off your feet here for turn 4, especially on cold tires. You're going to see some drivers really struggle for grip through that corner. Then we're going to climb up the hill, move to the right side of the track. We got a very blind left-hand corner here at the crest of the hill. You got to be very careful to tame that off track there and make sure you don't run too wide. And you got to brake earlier than you think for this long sweeping right-hander. It's going to bring you up to a pretty quick chicane. You can maybe catch somebody sleeping here and set up a move on the inside. If you're very sneaky, you want to eat as much as that curve as you can. Keep yourself over the right-hand side of the track. Open up this entry. You want to make a nice late apex to sacrifice that exit to open up the right-hander that follows. And use all of that runoff there on the exit. Going to kind of have a mid-entry to this very fast left-hander. Going to keep the car over on the left, open up the entry. And again, you're seeing him use all of the curbing here, and that's the key to a fast lap around here. Is you really got to use all the curbing, use all the track. This is one of the trickier corners here. It's one of the big braking zones as well. You could see some moves done going into that corner, and then approaches the last 2 corners, a very, very big braking zone coming into the left-hand hairpin. You're going to see the pit entry there on the right. They're going to run into that pit entry a little bit, and then bring the car over to the left to open up this last corner. And you want to try to get back to the throttle as early as you can so you can use that big long straightaway to your advantage, get a good lap time, set up that next lap. And we'll see if Kevin Parrish is able to make his way up from the top, from P5 up to the top of the pole again, and waiting for it, and it does not look like he was able to improve, so he's going to stay in 5th for now provisionally. Luke Sudengay sitting there on the pole with a 201.912, the only driver so far to break through the 202 barrier.
But it is still a close race there. Second place, only 0.2 of a second behind, which is not a lot of cushion there. Fabian Zweier only about a 100th of a second off of the second place. The podium very tight knit, and the trend kind of continues. Matt Malone P4, P5 Kevin Parrish, and Randall, when we were riding along board with Kevin Parrish, one thing I noticed was how much he was sawing on that wheel. Obviously, the Mustang got a physics update last year, made it a little bit more difficult to drive for some guys, a little bit easier for others, but these curbs at this track, some of them, like these curbs right here, fairly flat, fairly tame. Other sections, man, they're going to throw these Mustangs around, and Kevin had a handful. Every time we watched that steering wheel, he was just really working on it. That thing wanted to fight him at every turn. It's going to be a tough track. Despite how wide it is, you'd think it would be pretty navigatable, but a lot of cars, 35 so far, and it's going to be a fun challenge, especially with that lack of practice. Not really going to know what to expect.
Yeah, we got 36 registered. I think only 35 is at a time. Maybe one person has dropped out. They're coming up, and that's going to be the end of qualifying here. They're going to get cut off there right at the end. No chance to run out those last laps. We'll get that official grid up as soon as we can. Waiting for it to be officially set, and there we go. Luke Sudengay is on the pole position for race number 1 with a 201.912, the only driver to punch through that 202 barrier. Starting alongside of him, Luis Henriquez in the number 6 car, Fabian Zweier in P3, Matt Malone, the full-time turkey, there in P4. Kevin Parrish, welcome back to the league with a nice top 5 qualifying position. And then on your Challenger Division pole, Matt Thompson in P6. He has really figured out something in the offseason. P7, Taylor Ballant with Andrew Bailing starting next to him in P8. Dave Moore starting in P9 with Chuck Labano in P10.
Looking outside of the top 10, David Finch going to be rolling off P11. Daniel Gabaldon is going to be P12. 13th goes to Neil Kemp. Jeff Schnackle, standout amateur from last season, going to roll off the grid at P14. Brandon Brush going to be 15th, and to his outside, Freddie Weaver in that P16. Had a good run in that 229. Then you got Mark Cohn in the 17, Levi Powell P18. He told me for a fact he does party. Keep an eye out for Levi Powell. He does party. Dan Ott, or on O2, P19. Running out the top 20, going to be Charlie Hosey.
Matthew Gazinda going to start 21st, and then we have Taco Phil Keck there in a 22nd position in that number 88 Taco Bell entry. Mike Neekum going to start in 23rd. Aaron That Face Ray going to be starting in P24. Kevin Berg in P25, Mark Royce in 26th position, Jay Little going to roll off in 27th. Last year's amateur division winner Dave Blair, now in the challenger division, is going to start P28. P29, it's going to be Jeff Andrews, 30th, Joe Sacchetti, and I'm just going to finish it off here with Brandon Smith in 31st, Scott Brooks in 32nd, Tom Wint in 33rd, Andy Bell in 34th, Jeff Bernard in 35th, and it looks like 36th is John Casey. I'm not sure if he's going to take to the grid or not. It looks like Jeff Bernard is now joining the grid. So we do have all 36 on the grid. We've got about 45 seconds here before the green flag drops. And so, Andre, what do you think is going to go on in turn one, this being the first race of the season?
I would like to think they're going to be cautious. You know, a lot of these guys, like you said, not too many new faces. So these guys know each other. They know what to expect as far as who they're racing around. So I'd like to think we're going to make it through turn one. I'm going to place my metaphorical bet on getting through it clean.
Well, this league never ceases to amaze me. Sometimes I think they're going to for sure have a clean start, and they have 3 or 4 races in a row where it's just absolute bedlam, and then we go somewhere like Road Atlanta, and we'll get 43 cars through turn 3 just perfectly fine. So I have no idea what to expect. We are about 5 seconds away from the lights going on, and when those lights go off, we will be underway here for season 9 round 1. Luke Studengate will lead them down the front straight towards turn 1. Will he be leading when they get through turn 1? You can hear the engine spinning up now, waiting for it. Green flag is in the air now. Green flag, Luke Studengate leads away, and Luis Enriquez with a big jump off the line. We've seen a few drivers trying to make their way up the few positions, with 5 wide there coming down through the midfield.
Oh,
and we got some trouble already. It looks like Taylor Belant going to be having some issues as the mob makes its way down to turn 1. We see him 3 and 4 wide, and Luis Enriquez challenging on the outside. We got cars. It's an absolute gaggle going through turn 1. It's hard to shake out, but it has been Luke Studengate leading the way out of turn 1. He's going to continue to lead down to turn 3. Luis Enriquez in second. That looks like Fabian Zweyer in third, being challenged and pressed hard now by Matt Malone in fourth. And then in fifth, we have Kevin Parrish. And we see, there goes Dave Moore screaming into the wall. That's going to end his day early. And not a good start to the season for Mr. Moore, but he is going to be hurting after that.
I'm going to need our producer, Joshua, to go back and just scrub any footage of me saying I was betting on us getting through it clean. I can't afford to lose this bet, so that was evidently false. But the leaders managed to get through, and as you said, Luke Studengate leading the way with a few familiar faces behind. I did notice David Finch in that purple and green Mustang that he has driven for a couple seasons now. He got a huge jump on the start, threw it about 4 wide, gained a few positions from where he started. Now he's inside the top 10. What a move that was, really taking advantage of a few drivers sleeping on the line. I was actually going to get up almost towards 9th, challenging Jeff Schnackle for that position. Single filing out for the most part as we work towards the conclusion of the first lap. These guys getting a little bit more patient now. But yeah, just unfortunate for those few drivers. We had an incident on the straightaway, one in turn 1 and one after turn 1. So not how these guys wanted to start their season.
Come out of the final corner for the first time. Luke Studengate continues to lead the way. He's going to get the first lap of the season under his belt. He's going to get that bonus point as well. And I can see in the chatter we got a couple investigations going on. Jeremy Ritchie, our eye in the sky, is going to have his hands full here for a couple laps while he looks for things. But it looks like the field's kind of stretched out now. We got a couple fighters going on here. Phil Keck, possibly Mike Neekum. No, that's not Phil Keck. Yes, it is Phil Keck. Phil Keck and Mike Neekum involved in a little bit of a scrap there. Got somebody pointing the wrong way. Who is that? Kevin Parrish. Kevin Parrish maybe this hasn't busted all the rust and is going to have an issue. We're going to take a look at what happened to him. He was running there in 5th position, kind of lost contact with the lead pack just a little bit, not far enough back to really be in trouble. I think maybe he just cooked it a little too heavy here, got the cold tires, cold tires got the better of him, got a little bit too strong into the throttle, a little greedy there on exit, and then had to catch that car. It looks like no damage on the car. We're going to see what happened with Dave Moore, and this is after the incident, and that car is heavily damaged. We're going to see it coming now through turn 3, and it looks like he's got Brandon Rush behind him, to Dave Finch ahead of him. Not sure who that is on the outside. Is that Schnackle? It is Schnackle now, and directly in front of him, and just right there, turn 3, turn 4, it catches you on cold tires. It looked like he was taking a pretty tight line through there, so maybe just had a little bit too much wheel in the car, tried to give it some throttle, and around it went. You can see him already sliding there as he comes out at the turn 3 exit, and then, yep, just as soon as he gets to that bump there at the apex of turn 4, it just sends him right around and straight to the scene of the accident.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. If he had slid about 10 feet further, he might have made it to the tire barrier, which would not have torn up his car quite as much. Unfortunately, that Armco not as forgiving. A lot of damage to that machine. As we go back to live scenes, Luke Studengay leading the way, Luis Enriquez P2, Fabian Zweier still third, Matt Malone, the draft revealer himself, showing us the tracks at the beginning of every broadcast while he is running at P4 in that 83 machine. Currently has the fast lap of the race, though, 2:02.029, which is only about a tenth of a second off pole time, so not too bad when you're setting quality times in a race, especially when the tires hadn't even quite got up to temp yet. He is falling in single file, riding on board now with Zweier. Nope, this is with Malone. That third car was kind of hidden, but you can see this is what they're working with here. I mean, they are nose to tail, not a lot of room for error here. When they get up on these curbs, they're getting sideways. Not a comfortable situation, unless you're Luke Studengay, who is just looking to really capitalize on the momentum he found last season. Got the pole, drove away from lap 1. Now a move for third place. Is he going to be able to get it? Matt Malone swinging around the bottom. He's going to get clear. That was a one and done. Didn't have to set him up. Didn't have to knock him down. Just snuck to the inside and took it.
Yeah, the last time we raced the Mustangs here, I was actually involved in the race. I tried to do that same move that Matt Malone did, and I ended up with a little bit of body contact. I'm not going to say who was to blame on that one. But yeah, he was able to sneak one out there. It's normally a pretty tricky place to get a pass done, but Matt Malone, ever the professional, he's now a full-time streamer, so he's got to make it look good for the turkeys over on his channel. We're going to get a look at what happened here with Brandon Smith. Looks like he was involved in possibly an incident. No, just getting a move done here. So, going to set up on the inside of turn 3, and gonna just, yeah, this is like a textbook move. They're going to have a fight back here in turn 4, and that looks like it kind of shook out the way that it started. But some battling going on in the mid-pack. It's really going to kind of hamper some of these guys. We have this top 4 have really broken away right now. Matt Thompson is leading the Challenger division in 5th place overall. I think that guy may have been sandbagging last season. Where has he gotten the speed from? Because look out, here comes Matt Thompson, top 5 overall Challenger division leader. And then Freddie Weaver is in 15th place leading the amateur division. So we watched Freddie Weaver and Dave Blair really duke it out for that championship in the amateur division last season, and Dave ended up winning it. Freddie figured something out there in that last half of the season and just carried over pretty well.
Freddie Weaver has a lot of passion for sim racing. It takes a lot of time and effort to improve on something like iRacing. It's not an easy sim by any means, and when I first saw his name, he was a little bit further down the pylon. And ever since, it seems like every single race, he's just doing a little bit better. Now in the top half of the field, leading his division, like you said, and really making a run for the championship late in the year last year. His improvement has been phenomenal, and you can tell he's really taking this seriously. It's paying off. Very fun to watch. It's stories like that that make sim racing so entertaining. We're on board now with Chuck Labano, a bit of a battle in and of itself. Is going to be Matt Thompson ahead, and whoa, big wiggle out of Thompson. That is going to put Labano, the Canadian, right up ahead, but looks like Thompson did gather it up from that camera angle. I did not think he saved it, but somehow he did.
I'm shocked that Chuck's nose is still clean after that. I thought for sure he was going to get tagged. Manages to avoid. He's got the hands of a gunfighter, that Chuck Labano. We're going to take a look again at what happened here. He's going to be at that big wiggle, and he just barely gets around. Just absolute reflexes of a cat there out of the Chuck Labano car, moving his way up into P5. That's another driver that's really improved. He won the Challenger division 2 seasons ago, and he hasn't looked back. So now in the top 5 overall, looking to maybe track down this lead group. So far, Chuck Labano, he's good. Hopefully he's wearing his yellow driving suit. I'm pretty sure he had an incident there. We're going to see another incident here. Mark Royce, looks like somebody maybe money shifted there. Yeah, Mark Royce, I saw a big puff of smoke as he takes it off the track, and that's just going to be the end of his day. And Scott Brooks also having some issues. We're going to see him. He just come through that chicane. He's got a driver there. Right there on his rear bumper is that Charlie Hosey there right behind him. I know you're a truther, Andre. We'll see what happens here. Maybe there's a little bit of help from Hosey, and around he goes. No real visible damage on the car. This is going to lose a bunch of time. We're going to take another angle of this and let's make sure we get the murder here clearly on camera. Charlie Hosey, we're just going to get a front row seat to it as he's trying to get around an amateur. So he's at slower division. It looks like Scott ran a little bit wide and had to get out of the throttle just a little bit. Hosey was not ready for it, and boom goes the dynamite.
And one more replay here. Jay Little had a bit of a moment in the 296, getting around the corner, using that concrete for a little bit of extra grip until into the corner too wide. He gets a little bit of help, overcorrects it into the tire. That's going to be big. And then it hits Hosey. Oh my goodness. Another. Oh my goodness. That was.
I sure hope Dale's okay.
I hope he's okay. He's.
Maybe a little bit of karma here for Charlie Hosey as there's a car directly ahead of him. I'm not sure he got a clear picture of that car stopped in the middle of the track, and then boom, this hits him, and he's going to go. That's going to be the end of his day as well. So a few drivers collected there in that Jay Little incident, and I'm not sure how much contact was there to initiate that. I think maybe just a little bit of aero push off the nose of the car and on the inside was enough to send him around. We're going to get another view here, maybe a bit of that infamous iRacing netcode, because it looks like he was going around on his own already, and maybe just a little bit of a netcode touch was all it took. So it looks like just the result of some hard racing and maybe some lack of awareness from a couple other drivers. Going to get collected in that. We're going to rejoin live pictures. Luke Sudengate continues to lead the way here over Luis Enriquez and Matt Malone. Fabian Zweyer back there in 4th place. He's fallen off the back of this lead trio, so he's getting to be on a bit of an island of himself. But we see right now that purple time is belonging to Matt Malone. 201.720. Big slide out of Luis. Not an unusual sight. That man really knows how to drive the Mustang on the edge and is not afraid to slide it around to get a little bit more speed. Sometimes he tiptoes a little bit over that line, but he is one of those drivers that you think he's going to crash all the time and manages to save some of the wildest slides. Does it right there in front of Matt Malone this time. Matt was able to keep off of him, and that gives Sudengate a little bit of breathing room here as they make their way towards the chicane. But yeah, it's going to be a big moment for Luis. He might have overheated those tires a little bit.
I think what happened there was Matt Malone pressed square to intimidate and just got him a little bit loose and got in his head a little bit there. But that little bit of a buffer that it gave Sudengate is definitely going to work in his favor. He needs it, because if you look at that fast lap time, you mentioned it, purple time goes to Matt Malone. That is a 2:01.7, which I believe, if my goldfish memory is correct, is faster than qualifying. Pole time was, so he is flying right now. Bit of a moment for the geriatric racer Jeff Bernard. I believe that's what he calls himself in the Discord. A little bit sideways through the grass, and good save. I don't think there's any damage to that Mustang, so able to get that thing back on track. Didn't lose too many positions, and away he's going to go.
Despite that incident, he's still up 8 spots from where he started. He was up as many as 12 spots at one point. So Jeff Bernard really putting in the work here in the early stages of the race. Speaking of early stages, we are 13 minutes-ish into this race already. That pit window is technically going to be open here. These drivers are limited on the amount of fuel that they have. They will need to stop for fuel at some point in this race. We did see some changes in strategy as we progressed through last season. When it started, it was going to be you never took tires, and then we saw at a few different spots that they were taking 2 tires. I don't know if this is one of the tracks where they will or not. We see there on the live timing tower, you'll see the gains and losses across the board, and the big loser so far, Kevin Parrish with that lap 2 turn 1 spin, and he's back up to 26th spot, but he's got a lot of ground to make up. He's going to be kicking himself and almost certainly using a drop week. And then right now the big gainer looks like it's going to be Dave Blair in the Challenger division, up 8 spots from where he started. So a good run so far out of Dave Blair, who was his first run as a Challenger. We give you your division leaders. Luke Sudengate continues to lead the way in the Pro division. Matt Thompson leading the way in the Challenger division. He's dropped down to 9th place, now down 3 spots. So he's struggling now for pace as we've gotten the good off of these tires. So maybe he's driven them a little bit too hard. And Freddie Weaver continues to hold station there in 15th position with the amateur division lead, having a good race up 1 spot from where he qualified so far, keeping that car clean and out of trouble. We're seeing some guys struggle here that I didn't really expect to see struggle, and I didn't think we're going to have this much of a lead breakaway out of the lead group, but that's what we got so far. So that top 3 is really broken away. Fabian's a couple seconds off of the top 3, and then we got to look 8 seconds further back from Fabian to see Chuck Labano leading the second group. So we're going to get this nice blip shot here. You can see a good section of the track. We got a lot of cars circulating circulating into this section of the track. They're getting pretty spread out. This is one of those tracks, Andre, that'll really stretch the field out.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, you might even see a little bit of lap traffic towards the end of this race. We'll have to see if that comes into play. But we do have some cars down pit road. The window did open, like you said, and looks like some early adopters working their way down. Neil Kemp, Levi Powell. We're going to get that car serviced. Curious to see if the jack stands go up. I'm not seeing it, so no tires for these guys. They're just going to get back out there on their scuffs and see if they can finish this thing out. But there is a lot of right-handers on this track. A lot of very tight corners putting stress on the tires. I could see somebody trying it just to maybe get something different in on strategy compared to everybody else. They're going to work their way out. Not a bad overall pit time. Pit road going to be empty now, but that opens the floodgates. We're going to have to wait and see if anybody reacts to that strategy, if they want to come in and get that early pit stop. We saw a lot of races last season, Randall, decided by pit strategy, and it seemed like it really kind of flip-flopped what strategy was good depending on where we were. Sometimes it was the, oh my goodness, hold that thought, what has happened here?
That is a very, very injured Mustang right there in the form of Andrew Bailing, and he's just going to park it and send it back in. I also see that Jeffrey Schnackle has reset to the pit lane, so I suspect those two were involved in an incident. We're going to get a replay of it. Schnackle and Bailing going at it, going through turn 3. They're going to come up to turn 4, and it's going to be 2 cars going for the same piece of pavement. No, it looks like, oh, maybe just a bit. Yeah, we got some hook. Got him hooked on the front bumper there, right across Schnackle's front bumper. I don't think he realizes that he's lost a wheel at this point. He's going to try to limp it home. Schnackle gave up the ghost pretty early and went ahead and reset, but Bailing's like, no, I can drive it. It's fine. This is fine. Nothing's wrong here.
Put me in, coach. I can fit. Yes, you see that left front just barely dangling on. The A-arm is kind of holding it together, and then all of a sudden, there it goes. A-arm is gone. Suspension is gone. It's all gone. In a way, he is going to go to the pits. And unfortunate, that is the trouble corner, it seems, Randall. That is the 3rd incident we've seen in that turn. Really, I got to wonder if maybe there's a little bit of elevation coming downhill. The cars are already unsettled and, you know, trying to get tight going down that hill maybe and coming together.
There is a little bit of a bump there at the apex that will catch you out, especially on cold tires. Whenever you try to go through side by side, it looks really wide on exit, but it gets narrow really, really quickly as that car just wants to understeer out and once you get on the throttle. So I think maybe 2 drivers trying to push to get ahead of each other up that hill before that blind corner, because that's when you would really lose a lot of speed. And I just don't think that it worked out. We'll see if the steward has anything to say about that or not. But seeing some more investigations going on, but I haven't seen any penalties quite yet being handed out. The only thing I see so far is a meatball, and that's going to be, oh, hold on, that meatball's on Fabian's Weyer. He was driving a P4. What happened there? We missed something big while we were going through some of these other incidents. Fabian's Weyer out of this race.
There's a lot of pieces parts missing off the front of that Mustang. Now, he was all by himself. If I had to guess, I'm going to say a little bit too much beans coming out of the corner, perhaps. Up on the curb, and around it goes. A lot of damage from what seemed to be a relatively minor scrape, but the racing gods giveth and they taketh, and that was an instance where they tooketh, unfortunately. It was a great run for Fabian. He was really showing some good pace and starting the season off right, and just a little bit of a minor mistake. That'll happen when you don't have the practice and track conditions changing. We do have a ton of overcast, as you can see. It almost looks like rain rolling in. I don't believe it is, but that'll change the track temp, change the handling profile of the car quite a bit. Always got to be on your toes here. That is going to put Henriquez back up to third, Labano up to P4. So Labano inching closer to a podium. He's a ways away now, but the way this race has gone, you can't count anything out. Going back to what I was saying before, we saw a car trying to drive with 3 tires that was meant to have 4. The strategy seemed to flip-flop depending on the track. Sometimes it was the overcut, sometimes it was the undercut. What would you do here, Randall? Are you trying to go the distance at the Hungaroring, or are you taking the undercut?
We're seeing Levi Powell making a move here on Tom Limp with John Casey hot on their tail. It really, it's like you said, it depends on the track. And this track, I think I'm famously wrong with my pit strategies here, but I think the undercut is the way to go. I think you want to undercut, but you don't want to undercut by like 5 laps. You want to undercut by 1 lap, maybe 2 at most. That's just because you'll have all that momentum coming onto the front straightaway, where the driver leaving the pit lane is coming from a dead stop. So you may come out, you may meet in turn 1, but you're going to have a lot more momentum, and chances are you're going to win that race in turn 1. Also, if you have changed tires, the undercut is going to help you because your tires will already be a bit more up to temperature, as we see here. Neil Kemp and Andy Taco Bell. It's the second Taco Bell entry, Andy Bell here racing each other. But I think the undercut probably is the best strategy here. But again, only 1, maybe 2 laps of undercut. You don't want to come in too early. Speaking of Andy Bell, he's one of the new names that we have in the league this season. As we see, Matt Malone has moved his way up to second place around Luis Henriquez and is now applying the pressure to Luke Sudengay, and I'm hearing that there is a black flag being issued for a penalty. I'm not sure which car that's being applied to, and I'll see if we can figure this out real quick. But I did hear coming over the chat, and I think that's going to be for Jeff Schnackle. Possibly. Schnackle's going to be getting a drive-through penalty for that incident there. We saw in turn 4. I don't know how much it's going to really affect his race, but there you go. See Matt Malone making the inside move on Luis Henriquez into turn 3. One of the best passing opportunities on the track. It doesn't really seem like it would be, but it is one of the best places to get around your opponent. And now he's going to have to line up Luke Sudengay. Now we're going to start seeing, is somebody going to maybe pit to try to get out of this traffic to try to jump somebody? Is Malone going to feel like he's being held up here? He might come in just to get her to try to jump Luke in the pits. Luke might try to come in to preempt that move. We'll see if one of these guys blinks, but we do have only 18 minutes left in this race, so they're not going to have many more laps of fuel in that car. We should be seeing them coming any time now. We are starting to get a bit more traffic here on pit lane, but so far, most drivers have stayed out. We saw a couple on lap 7, a few on lap 10. We are now serving lap 11. It's going to get very, very busy down there very, very soon.
Yes, it will. The race is on between these 2 leaders as well. Continually, Matt Malone was lapping just a little bit quicker. Now he is in the tire tracks of the leader, and he's lost a little bit of that pace. Has to try to plan out this overtake. Whether he does it on pit road like you're theorizing or does it on the track, I don't know how you counter this guy tonight, because he's made a couple of passes where all he's done is just wrap that car to the bottom of the corner and somehow makes it stick in a way that I'm not seeing other people do. It seems like he has really good control of that Mustang, and he's able to get them apexes super tight, and it's helping his lap times big time. Again, 2:01.7 his fast lap of the race. So it's going to be tough, but we do know Luke Sudengay, one heck of a defensive driver, and honestly just one heck of a driver in general. So could be an even match and a fun show for us up in the booth. I'm just really waiting to see. Like you said, that undercut by a lap or two could be the difference. So every time they go by pit road, I'm going to be biting my nails waiting to see. And if you're Henriquez, you lost a few tenths. Maybe you've got the most to gain by trying something on pit road.
Luis Enriquez could be in that position now where maybe he's doing a little bit of fuel saving and tries to just get by with a quicker pit stop, and therefore doesn't have to take as much fuel and be able to get out of the box quicker and try to get somebody that way. Other than that, I think he's just biding his time, hoping that maybe these two will start fighting. I think if these two start fighting in front of him, that will be the time that he decides to jump into pit lane immediately, especially if it's in this last sector of the lap. If he thinks he can get by without one of those two going in, and they start fighting, I would definitely be jumping into the pit lane and trying to clear myself of that.
Yeah, you don't want any lingering penalties, that's for certain. Get clear of that and get clear of any strategy choices you're going to make too. But here we go, getting to the outside, then the inside. He is tight on those apexes. That's what I mean, Randall. Look at the lines he's taking. You don't see anybody else taking it quite that tight. And there we go, first taker of the leaders. What a pit road entry. He is Takumi Fujiwara drifting into the corner. Get down pit road as quickly as possible. And that is going to be a huge thing for these leaders, Randall. How fast you can actually get into pit road while still making the pit road speed may be a lot more important than the exit. The exit's pretty straightforward, but that entry is tricky. And from the looks of it, just eyeballing it here in the booth, Matt Malone nailed it. I don't think he could have got in there any quicker than he did.
Yeah, you definitely need to attack this pit entry. We're going to see him coming into his pit stall here, and you're right. The exit's very, very straightforward. We're going to get a run through here with Matt Malone to see how he attacks, and he diamonds that off there really well. Kind of treats it as a double apex and maximizes his pit entry. And that's going to be one of the ways that you lose time, is by not attacking this pit entry the way that he just did. So we'll see if Schnackle and Henriquez are able to do the same thing. But Malone is underway again with a 12.97 pit stop time, right there around average with whatever we're seeing from other drivers. So we're seeing the overall pit lane time 43.7. So he's the fastest pit lane time. And you're right, Andre, it's because of the way he attacked. He's relatively traffic free now too, so he's going to have a good chance to set some good lap times. Henriquez stands in a good place to make up some time as well by having that car disappear. He can slipstream back up to the leader and maybe gain some track position that way. Kevin Parrish coming out of the pit lane, getting very, very busy here down on pit lane right now, seeing some drivers coming in. Parrish stopped for 13 seconds. Everybody stopped for about 13 seconds so far. It looks like Neil Kemp is the fastest pit stop time with a 12.3 stop time. Overall times are going to be a little bit different, and it's going to be pretty much how you attack that pit entry is going to determine that total pit lane time. And so far, it's still Matt Malone leading the way in that regard. He was able to absolutely send it down the pit lane entry, got on the binders at the absolute last second, and did not pick up a speeding penalty. Most importantly, Sudengay and Luis Henriquez are both going to go for one more circuit at least. They are now on lap 14. We are expecting 20 laps in this race, starting at lap 14. So we're going to see 6 to go next time by. We'll probably see these two pit the next time they come by that pit entry. I don't know that they have another lap in that car or not. We will see. But so far, these two are making hay while the sun is shining. They don't have any traffic to deal with. And I'm looking down at the timing screen, and it looks like Matt Malone also not really dealing with a lot of traffic. The closest car ahead of him is about 4.5 seconds up the track, so he pit in a really good spot and was able to come out with some clean air. We'll see if these two are able to get it done or not. Brandon Brush making his way out of the pits. He's having a good race. He came into the pits from P6. We are in the middle of the pit cycle, so some of these positions are going to get shuffled. Daniel Gabaldon, we saw him. He had a lot of pace at the end of last season. Now he's in the Challenger Division, trying to get that Challenger Division win. And after everybody's pit, we'll try to get you who the leaders are in each division. But still looking at that timing screen, I'm not seeing anybody faster than a 12.3. So Neil Kemp still with the fastest time, potentially with the Thompson Trophy for fuel management, as Dave Blair makes his way out of the pit. And he's going to have his hands full with Kevin Parrish he's just going to let Kevin go. I don't think he's going to fight him too hard. And Kevin's going to try to drive off into the sunset. Showing on my screen, Kevin Parrish up to 20th position. Once all the pit cycle's done, we'll see where he's at. But he's been able to make up quite a few spots after that early spin.
And he's doing a good job salvaging the day. You make a mistake early like that, and it's easy to get frustrated and you want to give up on it, but it's extremely early in the season. You've got all the time in the world to get those points back and claw your way back up. And the way you're going to do that is by doing exactly what he's doing. As we now have both of our leaders coming down pit road, Luke Sudengay, Luis Henriquez, and Chuck Labano as well, a little bit further back, you see on the pylon and just at the back of the camera shot. The question is, where is Matt Malone going to cycle out in comparison? It was a 12-9 in the pits for him as we watch our two leaders.
Looked like somebody had to hit the reverse there for a second, maybe overshot their pit box. That could be the deciding factor here. As Sudengay is going to get out very early, Henriquez is going to follow him. The Sudengay with a pretty quick stop. That's going to put him at well, it was a 13.3, so not super fast. But there's Matt Malone coming on the outside of turn one. He's not going to be able to cover him off, so they end up in the same position where they started this pit cycle. The fast pit time was to no avail for Matt Malone, as it looks like Sudengay was able to equally attack that pit entry, and you see the longer pit lane time there for Henriquez. Since he was so close behind Sudengay, he had to hit the brakes a little bit early. He wasn't able to come in nearly as hot as everybody else is rolling off the pit lane. I've only got a couple of drivers so far that it looks like that have not come into pit yet. Jeff Andrus, Aaron Bray are both been able to stretch this out for another lap possibly. We'll see if they are able to gain any positions by stretching that fuel out. We got some fights going on here in the mid-pack. Freddie Weaver has got a windscreen full of Phil Keck and Daniel Gabaldon as they try to sort this out here in the top 10, possibly, or fighting for the top 10. They're in the top 15, those two. Freddie Weaver holding out there in 16th position currently, right where he qualified. He's been running most of the race in 15th position. And now that the pit cycle's pretty much done, people are going to be where they're going to be at. We'll see. There's a couple more positions left to be decided as the race goes on. We're just under 10 minutes left to go in this race. It is absolutely flying by.
It is going by in the blink of an eye. And I'll tell you what, Freddie Weaver, speaking of going by, he is trying to get around Phil Keck. He has shown his nose a couple times at the quarter panel, not quite able to make it stick. He had to kind of think better of it. But he's not done. And this battle is not settled. That would be for a top 15. And Freddie Weaver does not have the advantage over second place in his division that he had earlier in the night. It was about 15 seconds over second place for amateurs. Now it's only about, give or take, 8 seconds. So Kevin Berg closing in little by little. And we do still have about 9 minutes of racing left. So, you know, kind of got to get it and move on if the guy ahead of you is holding you up. And speaking of being held up, well, the driver with the fastest lap time still unable to make the move. This has been a masterclass, Randall, out of Luke Sudengay, not cracking under pressure. It has been 30 minutes of being hounded by the drivers behind him. First, it was Henriquez, then it was Sudengay, or then it was Matt Malone, and he has just held them off. He has continued to lead this way, not letting them go by. He's blocking off the apexes. He's taking those defensive low entries. You see right there, he dives down to the curb. He is not giving anybody an opportunity. And as I say that, commentators curse, thy name is dirt. He's going to get to the inside. He made one mistake, and that might be all it took.
One big slide. Now they're going to be racing side by side into a heavy braking zone. As they come through the chicane, Sudengay might be able to cover this off here, might recover, but that was a big slide coming through turn 4, and he's able to keep it there, but it's brought Luis Henriquez right into this fight. Malone was being very opportunistic there. As soon as he smelled blood, he went for that move. Was not able to get it done before that chicane, and Sudengay holding on for dear life. One little chink in the armor, and he was almost done for. He's managed to hold on, but these three are running absolutely nose to tail. We have just a few minutes left, 7 minutes left in this race. They are coming to start lap 17, which means 4 laps to go this time by, and it's going to be a very nervous 4 minutes there for Luke Sudengay, as he's got 2 absolute killers there on his tail. We're going to go through, see what the other divisions are doing. Matt Thompson continues to lead the way in the Challenger division and P5 again overall, so he managed to make up some of those spots that he lost. And then the amateur division, Freddie Weaver up to P14. So he's running pretty good there in the amateur division, and he's got Kevin Parrish trying to track him down on his recovery run. Kevin Parrish is picking up a few tenths here and there, so Kevin might be closing that gap down by the end of the race. Let's get back to that lead battle now that we've gotten this out of the way. Let's see if Luke Sudengay is able to continue to hold off the two sharks in the water behind him in the form of Matt Malone and Luis Henriquez. These drivers have raced together so much and always race very close together. You know that there's a lot of trust between these guys, and there's not going to be much backing down. They know how to race hard. They know how to race clean, and we're going to see an absolute bonkers finish here. I'm absolutely sure of it, especially if we see another little mistake out of Luke Sudengay, but I think maybe he's gotten it out of his system.
Well, we don't want to give him another commentator's curse. Literally in the middle of saying what a masterclass it was, no mistakes, and then boom, there was the mistake. But he held him off. I mean, even with that mistake, he was able to get into the next corner, hit the apex, and prevent the overtake from happening. So the defensive driving is just next level out of this number 41 machine. Matt Malone got to be getting frustrated. He waited 30 minutes for that opportunity. It finally showed its face, and he was unable to make anything of it. And in fact, that mistake and all of the stuff that happened along with it allowed Luis Henriquez to get right back to the bumper. Like you said, these three very familiar with each other, and they know what to expect when it comes to battling one another. A lot of trust, a lot of respect. But I'll tell you, they can't be too relaxed. Even with that trust, they have got to be tense. They've got to be nervous. They are miles away from the next car behind, but this could be a race for the win. A little bit of a bobble there out of the hairpin for Henriquez, going to give up a couple tenths, but Matt Malone, again, just wrapping the bottom. A little bit of a slide there on exit, maybe got a little bit too low on that corner, then drifted up on exit. But, I mean, at this point, you've got to try a different line. You've got to take some different routes around this place if you want to try to figure out a way around this number 41, because that car is about 8 miles wide, it would seem.
Absolutely. 4.5 minutes left in this race. 3 laps to go. Luke Sudengay continues to lead the way. Matt Malone still holds on to the fastest lap. I don't think anybody's going to be able to challenge for that at this stage in the race with a 2:01.720, about 2 tenths faster than the pole position time. So that slipstream was able to get him there a little bit more speed that he wasn't able to find in qualifying. And the top 3 are spreading out a little bit here. I think maybe this is the calm before the storm. Everybody's going to be buckling down. We're going to see, if you look into that windshield there, that number 83 car, you might see a little glint of metal as it looks like Matt Malone's got the dagger clenched firmly in his teeth, trying to track down Luke Sudengay. He wants this win. He wants to start off the season on the top step of the podium, but he's got a few tenths to make up. He's about 6 tenths behind right now with 2.5 laps to go. Still plenty of time to close that gap up. Maybe just trying to see where is he faster than Luke and trying to line up when that move's going to happen. Maybe try to catch him off guard and go for an unconventional move. It wouldn't be completely out of character for Matt Malone to do something like that.
No, it wouldn't. And I think when they're both running the optimal line, I think Matt is just a little bit quicker than Sudengay. But you can't run the optimal line and make an overtake, right? Because the car in front of you is going to take that away. You've got to get a little bit lower or maybe set him up for a big run on exit. But when you're this close in pace, that is a whole lot easier said than done. And you got to get creative with it. You can see Matt Malone way down on that concrete, but that takes away his exit speed, and that really hurts him in the long run. I think if he's going to make it happen, it's got to be either getting on the straightaway, getting a huge run. You can see he's on the throttle, power slide out of the corner, trying to build that run, but it's just not quite there, and the straightaway not long enough to really slingshot around him either with the slipstream. So he's really kind of limited in his options just because of how fast Luke is. It's not going to be an easy task. You can see 2 tires on the outside curb all the way down to the inside and a huge counter steer. That's going to cost him a ton of time. That is a move of desperation, Randall. That's the kind of line you take when you're just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks.
I think I can see Luke Sudengay smile from here. I think he's grinning ear to ear seeing that big bunch of counter steer out of Malone, though he's going to have a bit of a wiggle himself. Malone's going to look at him, use that runoff. He's throwing caution to the wind. He doesn't care about off tracks at this point. The clean driving championship, not even a thought in his mind. He just wants to get this win as Luke Sudengay tries to drive away. He has opened it up about another 3 or 4 tenths since this time last lap, and Malone's going to fall back into the clutches of Henriquez here if he's not careful. I think Malone might be overdriving the car just a little bit trying to get this done, as we see a big slide there out of Henriquez trying to get through that chicane, leave some tire tracks there in his wake. So these drivers really hanging it out, trying to close down on Sudengay. Sudengay has just been the class of the field all day long. Other than one little bobble, he has just looked cool as a cucumber up there in the lead. Not really seen him pushing the car super hard, maybe a little bit of sliding here and there, but it's hard to not slide these cars as they approach the final turn complex. And as they come out of the final corner, we're going to see that white flag waving high in the air by Barney. This is going to be the last chance for these drivers to try to get up there to challenge Luis Henriquez all over the rear bumper of Matt Malone. Luke Sudengay still has a bit of a gap there for a breather, about half of a second right now as they make their way through the final corner. Luis is going to see that big white flag up in the air and say, oh gosh, can I hold on for one more lap? As they come down to turn 1, Sudengay leads the way over Matt Malone, Luis Henriquez. These three, there's not even another driver on the track behind them. We're going to need a calendar, not a stopwatch, to measure that gap between 3rd place and 4th place as they make their way through turn 1, down the hill, through the easily flat turn 2, going to make their way to turn 3. We're going to see something cheeky here out of Matt Malone. It does not look like he's going to go for a dive quite yet. He does need to have a good run up this hill. Sudengay needs to make sure that he hits his marks here and just gets onto that throttle nice and gently and doesn't slide the car too much, and he should have it in the bag until they get up to about halfway through this lap. Looks like a pretty even run out of all three drivers coming up the hill. Sudengay going to continue to lead the way through the blind corner. Nobody bobbling too much, but they are really pushing the track limits to try to get up there to close that gap up as Sudengay continues to drive away. Malone is sliding all over the place. He is being super aggressive up on the wheel. He's got both elbows out. The gloves are out of the window. He is using every bit of rubber that is on those tires, trying to close that gap up and at the same time hold off Luis Henriquez. Luis is just hoping these two start fighting and he can maybe pick up the scraps and come away with a surprise win here, because he's not really in a good position to challenge either of these drivers. The gap is a little bit too big. He's running out of time as Malone is really using all of the track and then some, even more so than Sudengay. So you'd think Malone would be having these big runs, but Sudengay is able to just find that grip with a little bit less track and is keeping it a bit cleaner and probably just taking better care of the tires. They got 2 corners to go. Who's going to come out of this in the lead? So far, it's going to be Sudengay, but Matt Malone is closing up quick. Are we going to see a desperation dive bomb here? And Malone does look to the inside, but he's not going to be anywhere close enough. Sudengay is going to be able to close all the way down to the apex, get a nice clean drive off. They're going to come down to see the checkered flag. Luke Sudengay is going to win round 1 of season 9 over Matt Malone and Luis Henriquez. And what an absolute class act of a race out of Luke Sudengay. Never looked back from the drop of the green flag.
It's one thing to lead every lap, but when you lead just about every single lap, save for the pit cycle, and you've got somebody on your bumper all night long, and you don't crack, that is something to be proud of. That was one of the most impressive drives I've seen in a very long time. Congrats to Luke Sudengay. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, Matt Thompson going to take that Challenger win as well as a top 5 overall. Great night for that 133. Freddie Weaver coming across the line to get his division win as well. In the amateurs, P12 overall. Gained with quite a few positions from the last time we checked in on him. What a race for the 229, and more cars cycling through, getting their race finished out. That was one heck of a season opener.
And we didn't see a lot of these drivers in the midfield because we had such an entertaining battle going on up front. But Matthew Gazinda with a good finish. Kevin Berg is one of the newer drivers in the league. He finishes in 14th there in the amateur division. Andy Taco Bell going to finish his first race in the top 20, coming home. Well, now I'm seeing 21st, but I'm seeing 20th on the timing screen. I'm not sure what's going on here. So, yes, there you go. It's 20th overall. Looks like somebody, Phil Keck, had an issue there on the last lap, possibly ran out of fuel, maybe. Are we going to give the Thompson Trophy for fuel management to Phil Keck, as we've seen him possibly stopped on track and had to reset? I think maybe he may have ran out of fuel or had an incident there on the last lap, giving everybody a freebie behind him. What a nice guy, that Phil Keck.
Yeah, that is odd to see. He was duking it out for position there in about 15th, and then has to take a tow. Not entirely certain what happened, but some drivers getting their celebrations in, getting the season started off right. You can tell they're pretty excited to be back behind the wheel. Like you said at the start of the broadcast, it was a long off season, and now we got some great racing to watch, and tonight did not disappoint. You would think, that a race where really the running order of the top three did not change in the last 10 minutes wouldn't be that entertaining, but Matt Malone in the overtake attempts, he was really throwing at the leader. The lines that he was running were just edge of your seat. How is he going to make it work? But every time he was able to get through the corner, and it was entertaining, to say the least. A lot of fun and a big celebration out of Freddie Weaver for his amateur class win. Keep an eye on him for the championship.
Absolutely. Waiting for the official results to come in so that we can go through that finishing classification. But I can tell you, Luke Sudengay definitely won that race in 40 minutes of just nonstop. I don't even want to say defense, just driving so fast that nobody could get around him. We saw him have to defend his position against Matt Malone after one little bobble, and Malone was there all over him, but was able to hold him off there and keep it together in the closing stages just to get that win. And there we go. Here are your results. Luke Sudengay wins from pole position with Matt Malone, the full-time turkey, and our draft pick announcer in P2. Luis Enriquez has a good showing, finishes right there on their bumpers in P3. Chuck Labano having a really good start to this season, finishes P4. Matt Thompson, P5 overall, Challenger Division winner. This guy was we're going to start calling him the Sandbagger. Matt Sandbagger Thompson there in P5. David Finch in P6. Brandon Brush, P7. Mark Cohn comes home in P8 with Dehano Toot in 9th. Neil Kemp rounds out your top 10.
Levi Powell, he parties all the way to 11th. Freddie Weaver going to be P12 with his division win. Kevin Parrish works his way from the 27th after his spin all the way up to 13th. Great recovery, good points day. Kevin Bird going to be second in his division, P14 overall. Dave Blair 15th. Jeff Andrus going to be P16. Matthew Gazanda P17. Mike Neekum going to be P18. Running out the top 20, it is going to be P19 Aaron That Face Bray, as well as Andy Bell, P20.
P21, Tom Went. Jeff Bernard, the geriatric racer, is going to come home in P22. Has a good race for Jeff Bernard. He got quite a number of spots, 13 to be exact, up 13 spots from where he started. Joe Sacchetti going to finish in 23rd. 24th is going to be Scott Brooks. 25th, Brandon Smith. 26th, John Casey. Taco Phil Keck drops all the way down to 27th there at the very end of the race. Daniel Gabaldon in 28th. 29th, Taylor Belant. Some of these drivers here, as we go through now, have all had issues during the race. Taylor Belant at 29th. Jeff Schnackle, who we saw ended up with a penalty as well as being involved in an incident there in 30th place. Fabian Zweyer, who lost it all on his own there at the top of the hill in 31st. Andrew Bailing in 32nd. Jay Little, who we saw get absolutely clobbered once, twice, 3 times a meatball. Jay Little there in 33rd. Charlie Hosey, who was involved in an incident and got served some karma in the form of Jay Little's car there on the corner exit, is going to finish in 34th. Dave Moore, we saw lose it very early on, finishes in 35th place. And Mark Royce, who was the victim of a money shift, is going to finish shotgun on the field in 36th. Well, the two timing screens are disagreeing with each other. It says Dave Moore is actually in 36th, so who knows? Not having a good day, either of them. But that's your finishing order there for round 1, and what an exciting race. And I cannot wait to talk to our overall winner, Luke Sudengay. Luke, I'm going to need you to go weigh yourself. How many pounds of water weight did you lose having to fight off Luis Enriquez and Matt Malone for an entire 40 minutes?
Yeah, that was probably like, I don't know, half a large Baja Blast from Taco Bell this time.
Well, congratulations. You start off season 9 with a bang. You bring home the win. It was not easy. We thought maybe Malone was going to get you there on the pit strategy. And then we were talking about how you were just putting together a flawless race when you immediately made a mistake and had to fend off Matt Malone. So you could blame Andre for that with a bit of commentator's curse.
Oh,
so tell us what it was like out there for you.
It was pretty good. When I saw what track it was going to be, I got kind of excited because one of the best races I've ever had in AMS was here. So yeah, I was ready, and I got in, did a few laps of practice, and it's like, oh yeah, this feels right at home. So I was feeling confident going in, and I knew I had to nail the start, which is not the greatest start for me, but luckily I was able to pass Luis again in turn 1 and managed to keep everybody behind me the rest of the race. But man, it was tough.
So you start with a win. You're a contender this season, man. What is the rest of the season? You think you got something for these guys? You gonna come home with the trophy?
Man, I sure hope so. I'm gonna try.
How do you feel about oval racing? Let's start there.
I have actually loaded it up in a little test session already, so I think I got some work to do for sure.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to have work to do. I think we're going to see some real shakeups there in that last race. But way to start the season, Luke, with a win. We saw you finally get a win last season, and now you're just continuing the trend this season. Before we let you go celebrate, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Thanks to my family upstairs watching, and thanks for letting me do this iRacing stuff.
Well, congratulations once again, Luke. Maybe we'll be talking to you again. It looks like you got some chops this season. I think we're gonna have a few conversations. I'm gonna have to start digging out the questions like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor before we get to the end of the season, I bet.
Well, I hope you didn't give me a season-long commentator's curse.
We'll see. I think you got enough talent that's not gonna slow you down too much.
All right. Well, yeah, I hope to talk to you guys again for sure.
And that was your winner, Luke Sudengay. And Dirt, I think you tracked down the sandbag. We're going to give Andre the Dirt is going to talk to Matt the Sandbagger Thompson, your champion, your Challenger Division winner.
Mr. Thompson, You got a copy?
I'm here.
All right. Well, there was some talks about labeling you the Sandbagger of the league. All of a sudden, boy, you started this season hot, getting that top 5 finish and division win. Seems like this track really clicked for you, but tell me where that speed came from.
I think that speed came from running SRF and Weekend Warriors here for two times almost in a row in the last couple seasons, and so really got the feel for it. And yeah, I rise up a little bit when you got a slippery track that a lot of people have issues with. So I think there's some incidents that happen that bumped me up a little higher. Kind of Kevin spun in front of me. So I think I tend to survive these tracks a little better than some people.
Yeah, no, one of the biggest changes of this season is you guys not knowing what track you're going to be going to ahead of time, only finding out 20 minutes before the session goes live. How do you feel that impacted you so far, just one race in? Do you kind of like this setup of not giving everybody as much time to get in there and practice? Or would you rather you be able to get in there and get some laps?
It definitely takes me out of my comfort zone. I like putting the laps in. I like getting ready for knowing what's coming, knowing what to avoid. But yeah, we'll see. I definitely went better than I expected. I did not expect this to happen with it. I expected the opposite. So well, maybe it'll work. We'll see later on in the season.
Well, hopefully it does. Now, I gotta ask, you gonna do it again next week?
Who knows? Well, don't have any idea where we're driving, so
we'll see what happens. Man, of course you're doing it again. That's But all right, congratulations on your division win. We were very happy to see it up in the booth. We were rooting for you. A lot of fun to watch you boys do what you do and put on a good show for us. So thank you for your time, and we'll be hopefully talking to you next week.
All right, thank you.
That was your Challenger Division winner, the Sandbagger, Matt Thompson. And guess who I tracked down? None other than Mr. Excitement, Freddie Weaver, with the Amateur Division win and a great race today, Freddie. you really made up a lot of or you didn't make up a lot of spots. You were able to kind of hold station the entire race. You had a great qualifying. What was it like out there for you today?
Yeah, I think I qualified 16th, and thankfully a lot of guys had issues, and I was able to catch the slides and handle the turns a little bit, and kind of held pace and was able to get freebies.
So a strong start to the season for you. What do you think of the new format with the random or the mystery races and not being that much practice time compared to previous seasons?
Well, do you want the professional answer or you want the truth?
Oh, come on, Freddie.
I'm just kidding.
Don't,
hey,
don't bullshit
not
me.
bad.
I want the truth. You know that.
It's not bad. I mean, honestly, I don't like it, but we'll deal. I'll race the tracks I know. I'll try to stay away from the ones I don't, so I don't cause a big mess. I don't want to be the guy that takes out a guy racing the championship, so I'll use my drop weeks accordingly, and if that Nuremberg combined comes up, I won't be there, guaranteed, but
well, buddy, you got a win under your belt already. You're racing for a championship. I don't know if you know this.
yeah, I am, but at the same time, there's tracks that I won't do, and that is one that I don't have the mental capacity to learn. 8 minutes a lap is not for me.
So what do you feel about oval racing since we're going to end the season with one?
I am excited. That oval racing is my bread and butter. It's where I started before I started doing AMS. So I've actually tried Charlotte. A little weird in this car because it doesn't have the big wide slick tires like other cars do, but I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, congratulations on getting season 9 started with a bang and getting a win under your belt. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go celebrate?
Just the usual. I'll shout out my wife. Racing with Frito Sport this year, those guys are great. They've actually helped me a lot. Help with setups and stuff and kind of base stuff to go with, and pretty good guys to teach you how to race, and if there's something you don't know, they'll help you out with it.
Well, congratulations once again, Freddie. Good to see you in the winner's circle, and maybe we'll be talking to you again here in the coming weeks.
And I hope so. We'll see what next week brings for us.
We will be seeing indeed. And that was Freddie Weaver, your amateur division winner, and Andre, season 9, off to a great start. This was I was just as skeptical as many of these drivers were about Hungaroring being the first track of the season, and I think it delivered better than it did last time we raced here.
It did. There's definitely worse tracks that could have been pulled. We could have gone back to Long Beach for a season opener again. Luckily, we did not do that. It was a place that a little bit wider, and these guys, although it may be a difficult track, they're all pretty familiar with this place. A lot of sports car racing here at the Hungaroring. So, really great show. I'm just really glad the season's underway. I can't wait for next week, and it's going to be a fun championship competition closer than ever.
Absolutely. And you saw the graphic pop up there. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. That way you know every time Slow Motion Broadcasting goes live. And I'm being told in my ear we don't have any upcoming races coming to announce to you. So stick around here next Tuesday evening. We're going to be racing somewhere. We don't know. Nobody knows. We won't know until about 20 minutes before the server goes live. And you'll know as soon as the broadcast comes up. We'll have that draft pick for you. But that's all we got for you. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Stick around, check out the channel, see what other racing we got going on over here. There's lots of action here every week. But for Andre Grandbouche and joining me on commentary and Joshua Wilkie in our virtual production trailer, my name is Randall McGrew. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.